So for those of you who didn't see my video explaining what the Amazon Associates program is and how it's going to work with this channel, let me do a brief recap on that for a moment. So Amazon has created a program called the Amazon Associates program that helps YouTube creators such as myself in a way to monetize our channel. Because as you probably know, YouTube has become stricter and stricter about what they want to monetize on YouTube for their platform. It's becoming very hard for YouTube creators to make money from their videos the way they used to, or to grow their channels with income the way that they used to. The reason why is they're saying it's not advertiser friendly. Point in case, when you report the subjects that mainstream media doesn't talk about, it's not advertiser friendly. So they won't monetize your videos. So if you do shopping on Amazon, if you make purchases, you go to the link below, you click on it, it takes you to Amazon just like you normally would go to Amazon. You can then search for whatever product it is you wanted to buy, and by making that purchase after clicking on the link, this channel will get a commission of that sale. And it is a great way to help support this channel and help us spread our message and grow this channel so that we can reach more and more people out there. So we thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoy the video. So recently, Brian Stelter over on CNN brought a special little guest onto his show to talk about Donald Trump and Donald Trump supporters. This lovely guest was none other than Anthony Scaramucci. A very classy man who is ever so trustworthy, and of course he is certainly going to enlighten the American people about the truth. So that being said, I would like to break down this interview at this time, and then you fans out there, you be the judge on what you took from this interview. And, if you agree, disagree, comment, like, But to me, just getting this out up front, to me, Anthony Scaramucci is nothing but a glory hound and will do whatever he thinks he needs to for some publicity to float his way. Just like many other people that have come and gone from the Trump administration, by the way. Without holding up anymore, let's just get to the clip.
He briefly worked for President Trump, and now he says Trump's supporters are a cult. Anthony Scaramucci is here with me for a chat about all of that and much more. Thanks for coming on.
Good morning. Wasn't that brief, by the way. I mean, it was 11 days in the White House, but it was about 9 months during the campaign and the transition.
That's true. You were working at Fox as a commentator, as a host, and then you had to sever that relationship to go over to the transition team.
I was hosting Wall Street Week, and so when I was announced on the transition team, I had to pull the hosting job from that.
How much has Fox News changed, do you think, in the Trump years?
I don't necessarily think that it's changed. I think that there's certain news commentators on Fox that have made a decision that they're in the tank for the president. And so whatever he's doing, they have sort of like the Fox News kaleidoscope. They'll shift this kaleidoscope to sort of make the colors paint in a way that makes the president look well. And so a couple of commentators have decided to do that. And, what are you going to do? There's other commentators. Shepard Smith, as you know, left the channel. Judge Napolitano, I think they've been a little bit more balanced, a little bit more objective. But I think there's elements of a business model there, Brian, where they're galvanizing a lot of viewers.
Hold on there just a moment. Let's examine this framework for just a moment. Am I going to necessarily disagree with what he's saying that a lot of Fox News commentators do when it comes to President Trump? No. Even if there were an issue where President Trump was completely in the wrong. You would probably, most certainly, and some might argue you already have, see some commentators like a Sean Hannity, for example, doing anything in their power to defend President Trump. Okay? It's they when it was Obama, they look for every avenue to blame President Obama. So I won't disagree with that. But what is killing me here is the, I guess, insinuation that this is only a Fox News problem and this just doesn't go on in other places. No, the polar opposite happens. See, all the other networks are doing what the Sean Hannitys of the world used to do when Obama was in office, and they look for every avenue to take down every nook and cranny for any little small story, no matter what it is, to try and berate the president. Even when he does something good, they try to look for something bad in it. Now, think what you want about President Trump. Like him, dislike him. As a country, when the president does something good, this country should cheer it on. I get you may not like him as your president, but success for the country is success for the country. Why can we not all cheer that on? To be fair, there were things that Obama did that I thought were good. And I don't mind giving him credit for them. Why can't we all just get on that same page? But it kills me that he's using the framework that this sort of warp is only taking place on Fox News. No, it's taking place everywhere, just in the opposite way. Okay? You can't trust this news media. Pure and simple. But again, you notice he is now likened the people who are Trump supporters to being in a cult. Well, let's hear what his rationale for that is.
Your last panel really did describe it. The president's always felt like an outsider, and so when you're an outsider, you're susceptible to conspiracy theories, and it's one of the main reasons why he brought somebody in like Mayor Giuliani to sort of run that shadow system, because he always felt like he was outside of the system, and I think that's where a lot of the problems have come in for the president.
And when you say that Trump supporters belong to a cult, and maybe some of those Fox commentators then belong to the cult, what's your evidence? Why say a word like that?
Well, okay, so if you go to my Twitter feed, I put out the 10 things that you could look at to see if you yourself are in a cult, okay? And what are those 10 things? Someone's blatantly lying to you and you're accepting those lies as truth. Number two,
Number one on your list to see if you're in a cult is if someone is blatantly lying to you and you accept those lies. So, by your logic, Mr. Scaramucci, the United States government and the mainstream media want the people to be in one big, massive cult. I'm going off what your number one was. That if someone blatantly lies to you and you accept it, that is red flag number one, that you are in a cult. So, let's just start with the United States government. How much stuff has the United States government lied about to the people? I don't have a number for it. I don't think everybody knows just how much stuff the government has lied about to the American people. But for the hell of it, let's just rattle off a few things. Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. That didn't happen. The Gulf of Tonkin incident that took us into Vietnam, or the incident that they used as the reason to go into Vietnam. Didn't happen. Bill Clinton did not have sexual relations with that woman. Richard Nixon, your president is not a crook. Another lie to the American public. Pat Tillman, does that ring any bells? Jessica Lynch, does that ring any bells? NAFTA, it's going to be great for the American worker and great for the economy. TPP will be great. So that's just what the government's lied to us about. Oh, if you want one more, Medicare for All is going to cost a lot more than the way the healthcare system is now. And a Koch brothers study said, wrong again. That's just the United States government. And the government expects you to believe it. And if you don't, you're a kook and a conspiracy theorist. And then they use the media that does the swamp's bidding to push that narrative, which means the government creates it, the media pushes it. But the media pushes a lot of other things too that you don't just hear necessarily that start on Capitol Hill. The mainstream media has ran how many different stories since the beginning of the Trump administration? We were talking about ABC specifically, where they're just blatantly doing sloppy, lazy, lousy reporting, putting stories out there that are just not so. I mean, so basically what you're number one, I'll say it again, the mainstream media and the United States government are trying to put the people into one big cult. So I got a question, Anthony. Why in the hell are you going to the mainstream media doing all these interviews since they're all trying to put us in a cult? And clearly you have an issue with that. I must be missing something here.
Suggesting that they're the only person that is telling the truth. Everyone else, Brian Stelter is an example, all of CNN, MSNBC, they're all telling lies, but the cult leader himself is telling the truth. Third thing, and I think this is the most important thing, you're disaffected.
So his number two, by the way, before he gets into the number three, I've gathered disinfection from number three. Or disaffection. His number two is that everyone around you must be telling lies. You're the only one telling the truth. Now, I'll be damned. Where does that sound familiar from? Damn, that sounds like the mainstream media and the government again. Doesn't it? Think about it. All these independent journalists that came out. Oh, and by the way, yeah, if you want to add one more in there that the mainstream media and the government tried to push down our throats and make us believe. Think about all the times on these news networks that the evidence of Russia collusion was in plain sight. Bob Mueller couldn't see it. But so they expected us to believe that one for over 2 years too, right? Okay. But everyone around you is telling the lies. You're the only ones telling the truth. So stick with Russia. All the people out there who said this didn't happen, there's no real evidence of it, and it's all a bunch of hogwash. The mainstream media called you a Russian bot, a Russian asset, a conspiracy theorist, all these different names, and tried to berate you into the mud. And so did a lot of those swampy corporatist politicians up on Capitol Hill. They all did the same thing. And yet, at the end of the day, as far as Russia collusion goes, we got a great big bunch of nothing. Not one thing. Period. We got nothing. Now, where else did they use tactics like that? maybe the war in Iraq. See, there were a few people that spoke out against the war in Iraq when we were pushing to go to war in Iraq, or the government was anyway, and the mainstream media. A few people spoke out. And what did the media do to those people? They tried the same tactics then. They wanted to run you into the mud. That's what they wanted your name to be, mud. Okay? They used the same tactics, and they're using them now. They used them with the Russia thing. So, everyone else is the liar. You're the only one telling the truth. And what Scaramucci was implying is that, yeah, everyone else is telling the truth. You're the liar. Well, we've established mainstream media has been lying to us. Just gave you two good examples. And they were claiming that everyone else was a liar. So, again, number 2 on your list is telling me that the United States government and the mainstream media are, again, trying to put all the people in this country and all their viewers into a cult. That's 2. You were getting to number 3. Let's just hear what number 3 had to say.
There's a disaffection. The president did capitalize on that. And I actually wrote in my book, The Blue Collar President, that there was a vacuum of advocacy for white blue-collar workers over the last 3 decades. And that was malpractice by both establishment Republicans and establishment Democrats. And so he exploited that. And this is the reason why, even though his policies have failed those people, he still represents an avatar for their anger. And so they're going to stick with him until the
So wait a minute. Hold up. Okay. So your point to all of that was this. I'm assuming. Okay. Basically, whether the solution that you're working on actually works or not, people are going to stick with you because they can vent through you and feel like you represent something. That's what I gathered from your number 3. Where does this sound familiar again? I feel like I've seen this sort of behavior come from something else. Aha! Perhaps it was the mainstream media who always run stories that they think will draw a big reaction from their viewers. That's why they don't report on real news anymore. They just keep up with the Tulsi hit pieces, the Trump hit pieces, the Bernie hit pieces, the Andrew Yang hit pieces, all these different candidates that are not status quo, establishment, bought and paid for people. They just keep up the attack rhetoric. Now, for mostly the farther left base that just loathes Trump, that watch these networks, they have deliberately done this to play to that base, because they're trying to rally them up and keep their viewership. And they know that this is what's riling people up. This is what's drawing in what bit of ratings that they're getting. Now, again, one might say, well, how do you figure that? Because the ratings have gone down since they really, amped this stuff up. Yeah, that's true. But they've got a political agenda, and so this is what they're doing. But what are they actually doing that's informing any of these people? They're doing nothing. A lot of what they're pushing to these people, and it's, as we've said, it's been false, fake news. That's why when Trump says fake news, it sticks so damn good. Okay? Period. They're not informing anyone, so but people are venting through them. Now, where else does it sound familiar? Oh, the United States government again. And how does it fit? Because these same old, tired, dinosaur politicians come around every cycle at election time. And they talk about all these different plans, all these different policies, and all these things that they are going to do for you. They talk about everything that you want to hear. We're going to bring your jobs back. We're going to bring unity. We're going to do this. We're going to make the greatest thing since sliced bread. And all you have to do is vote for me. I will help you out. I will help urban schools. I will help the poverty. I will help end the homelessness. I will part the Red Sea. That's what they do. And they rally everyone up. Everyone gets behind them. Everyone goes out and votes. And then they get office and they hold two middle fingers up in your face and tell you, screw you, we'll see you at the next election cycle. So your whole comparison once again, Anthony, on your number 3, that he's capitalizing on something to get people to support him, but then never follows through and does what he said he's going to do for him, be damned. This sounds like something else the mainstream media and the United States government have been doing. Yet I bet CNN didn't take a look at any of that and say, well, gee, maybe we can make a comparison. Of course not, because they just want this to run another attack piece on Trump. Now, here's my final point on this matter. This is a show on CNN. I believe it's on Sunday mornings. It is hosted by this Pillsbury Doughboy looking man named Brian Stelter. And what does he call this lovely, very informative show that he does? He calls it Reliable Sources. Reliable source. Now, what is a reliable source? Well, reliable means you can be depended upon, you're trustworthy, people know that you stand for something. There's a lot of different things you could tie into the word reliable. How about a source? Well, a source is something that you turn to for either help or, to do something or to gather information. There's a lot of different meanings for the word sources too. So a reliable source, basically, a more basic context, a trustworthy or trustworthy information. That's what we'll say. Reliable sources, trustworthy information. Okay. So for a show that could basically be called Reliable Sources, Trustworthy Information, you would think we would bring someone on who has a history of being a source of trustworthy information. Someone who doesn't flip-flop. Someone who has spoken truth to power. Someone who might actually be telling the truth to your viewers when you bring them on your network. And by that criteria, you thought that a great fit for that would be Anthony Scaramucci. So let's just break down Anthony Scaramucci's history with Donald Trump, because most people think that they started off as friends and now they're foes. What you don't realize is there was another flip-flop in there. See, when Donald Trump started running for president in 2015, Anthony Scaramucci had the following thing to say on a Fox Business show. Let's see what he had to say about Trump back in 2015.
Donald Trump a hack?
He's a hack politician. I don't like the way he talks about women. I don't like the way he talks about our friend Megyn Kelly. And you know what? The politicians don't want to go at Trump because he's got a big mouth and he's afraid he's going to light him up on Fox News and all these other places. But I'm not a politician. Bring it.
Right, so why is he resonating?
You're an inherited money dude from Queens County. Bring it, Donald.
Oh, Mr. Tough Guy. Remember, he's the front stabber. He stabs you from the front. Okay? Yeah, that's some pretty tough language for old Donald Trump. And that was August 4th, 2015. So that's where he stood on Trump during the primaries. Then Trump gets elected, and the mooch became the smooch. He began all up Donald Trump's ass. And even after he was fired from the White House, he continued to be the smooch for quite some time. Every time he went on a news network, he was all up Donald Trump's ass. Until Donald Trump went to good old faithful Twitter and had something to say about the smooch or mooch, whatever you want to call him. Until he went to Twitter and then had some things to say about him that old Smoochy Moochy didn't like. He hurt his feelings. And as a result of that, now he goes on all these news networks that have been bashing Trump this whole time. He's been smooching Trump's backside. Okay. He goes on these news networks now to begin trying to talk all this crap about Trump. Oh, his people are in a cult. His people are in a cult. Blah, 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 blah. So I'll say it again. Anthony Scaramucci is nothing but a freaking attention hog and a freaking glory hound. And the fact that these news networks will bring him on to run his mouth and give his 2 cents on matters like this. And not to mention bring him again on a show called Reliable Sources, as if he is anything close to a reliable source with flip-flops like that going on. You can't trust him. He's just like Michael Cohen. He'll say and do whatever he has to do for his own benefit. And that is not a reliable source. So the fact that news networks like CNN and all these other places would bring this hack on to run his mouth shows just how bad the news is once again, and just how little they care about actually doing real news and informing the American public and informing all of you out there. They don't care. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Independent Report. If you liked the video, please give us a thumbs up and like the video. Also, if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to ask, or topics you'd like us to cover, please drop a comment in the comment box below. And also, please subscribe to the channel, and if you do subscribe, ring that bell so you'll stay up to date when we drop new videos and you'll get notifications of it. And also, please support us on Patreon. Funds are going to be used to grow and improve this channel so we can reach more and more people and spread the message that the mainstream media doesn't want to tell people. We hope you'll tune in next time.